Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Adam. Thanks for hanging out with me again on your Sunday. So today we have the Mud Blaster 2 on the bench. So this was another wonderful gift by the RCL, and one that wasn't really on my radar. So the original Mud Blaster was something, I didn't grow up with. I think the Mud Blasters and stuff like that were much more kind of welcomed and received in like the UK and stuff like that, where the Brat was a little bit more popular. Over in the US, generally the Brat was kind of a goofy little car that, few people had and most people made fun of. It's kind of like the Pinto of the foreign car market. The original Mud Blaster came out in April of 1989, so a long time ago, and that was on part number 58007. Now that was a completely different chassis than what this guy is. That was on the Blackfoot or the ORV chassis, the off-road vehicle chassis. It was like a ladder frame chassis, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with it. If not, I'll have a link down below where you can check out the kind of ORV chassis, what's on the wall rundown. But that had a hard body, old school Subaru Brat body on it, and it looked pretty cool. Again, it's not a fan favorite here in the US. The Mud Blaster 2 came out in December of 2011, so quite a gap between the original and the re-release, and they re-released it on a completely different chassis. So this chassis is the WT01 chassis, which is a much thinner, kind of compact, I wouldn't say twin rail, but kind of in that line where it's like basically two side plates mashing a front end and a rear end together. Now, before I get into the cars that came on the WT01 chassis, there was also a WR01 chassis, which is basically identical. It just has the rear gearbox, also one up front, and gives it four-wheel drive. So this one is two-wheel drive. The WT01 is two-wheel drive, and the WR01 is four-wheel drive, but essentially the identical chassis. There's just an extra gearbox for the WR01, and of course, drive axles and everything up front. So on the WT01 chassis, it started out in 2003 with the release of the Blackfoot Extreme Edition. Now that came out on part number 58312. And then there were two releases in 2004, the Mighty Bull and the Overlander. Both of those, I think, were kind of a limited edition run. Now, they don't have the 47 part number that is traditionally the limited edition run. So those actually have a 57 part number, which is 57727 for the Mighty Bull and 57729 for the Overlander. Now, take a few years forward, and then this comes out in December of 2011, and the Blackfoot 3 also comes out in 2011 under part number 58498. So in 2004 they had two cars come out, and then nothing for a long time, and in 2011 they had two more kits come out on it. And the last kit that I know of that came out on this chassis was the Bush Devil 2, which was on part number 58523, and that came out in 2012. Essentially all the kits that came out on this chassis, which is different body shells, all had basically the same tires. It might have had different wheels, I can't remember. I know this has kind of those directional spokes, but I think they all kind of had the same wheels. Some were chrome, some were yellow, some were orange, whatever. They just changed the coloration of them, but I think they all pretty much came out on the same wheels and tires, same chassis. It was just a different body set. So this did carry on the Brat body, except now it is Lexan, and this screams tribal tramp stamp. This is I was a little leery about putting the decals on this, and I said it in the original video, but I just did not know if I wanted to put all the tribal flames and everything on there. But we painted it box art, and I was like, I'll put the decals on. If I don't like them, then they can be peeled off, no problem. But I actually do like the scroll work on the hood, the tribal flames, all that stuff. It lends itself to that time frame. It is a perfect little time capsule of the silliness of tribal stuff back then. Thankfully, Yeah, there's none on me. Now, I did give it a custom license plate. Hopefully you guys can see that. Now, I also did the same thing on my Grand Hauler, so I made up some decals on the printer and printed them out. So RCL, thank you for this one, as well as all the other help you've given me. You know, like I said, this one wasn't on my radar, and when I got the box, I was kind of like, ugh, it's a little tramp stampy. But once I got it put together, once I got the stickers on it, you know, I sat back and I was like, that is absolutely perfect. What else screams cool than a brat with cool tribal flames down the side of it? You know, all it's missing is some Kid Rock blaring out of it as it rolls down the street. Now, driving wise, I do need to get some updated shocks for this. This has the friction shocks in it, which makes it very bouncy. Other than the bounciness, it drives great. I love driving it. I just have not put oil filled shocks on there yet. And you know, I just haven't gotten around to making the order and getting them on here. But you know, it has a respectable amount of wheel travel, and you know, it handles very well. It jumps nicely. It needs a little bit of oil dampening to settle it down so it's not so springy and bucky when it's driving around. But other than that, it's a great little kit. It was a little bit difficult to paint, but not terribly difficult. Basically, all you have to do is put the window masks on, and then you run a solid tape line all the way around. The tricky part is right up here at the front end. There is a step right there where the paint line runs. So you just have to be really careful about masking off this front, and then decal wants to peel up. Everything else is pretty easy. Then you get back here and you follow that line around. And again, this one is a little bit trickier, but since you're masking off this bottom half, it's not too bad. If you were masking off the top half, it would be a lot trickier to get all that tape in there. Now, I did mask off the bed and paint the bed black. So essentially what I did is I painted the blue on first, then I painted the silver on, and then I peeled off the bed masking and just backed everything in black. So I think it turned out really nice looking. It's a very well balanced truck. The battery slides in right through the middle here, and you know, I've been really tempted to try to find the front gearbox. Sadly, they're not easy to find, so they're kind of pricey. But it still runs really great in two-wheel drive and is a great addition to the collection. Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this Sunday's edition of What's on the Wall. Everybody out there, you guys be happy, be healthy, be safe, and I will catch you on the next one. See ya.